I mean, obviously, he had the talent, and it was no secret at that point once he got out there, and he hops in our stuff, and we always think our stuff is as good as anybody, but when you jump in there and run like he did, and do the finishes, and we're like, oh, we've got something here, And it was, so when 78 finished up, there, we're all thinking, wow, this is going to be pretty cool. And then, winning Rookie of the Year in 79, it was just a great year.
So you go to Bristol in 1979, early in the year, and you win that race. I've seen a little bit of video of the race. There's not a full video of the entire event, but there's a little bit of footage of the car going around the track and so forth. And he comes off of turn 4 at one particular point in the race and literally climbs the fence, hits the wall, and drives up on the wall and on the two wheels, back down, and just seemed like that he was a bit of a bull in a china shop, even going to victory at Bristol. And then there's pictures of I got lots of pictures of y'all in Victory Lane from that event, and I'm trying to get in your heads. I'm trying to understand what your emotions are in that moment. So help us do that. Help us understand, like, you're 1979, you got a rookie driver. You've been in the sport for a couple of years now. You've built
the Red Sox are trying to make it 2 in a row.
Feel like it's your baby.
Hi again, everybody, and welcome to EA Sports MVP Baseball. I'm Dwayne Kuiper along with Mike Krukow. Today's teams are the Boston Red Sox and the Tampa Bay Devil Rays.
He said, climbing the wall, wrecking. He wasn't scared. He wasn't scared of anyone, and I think it was the other way around when, as he was running, and you had him coming up behind you.
Here's the game's first batter, Johnny Damon.
If he caught you, he was going to go around you. And to actually just everything that we did to this point, and we're going around and we win the race, it's just like, wow, this is phenomenal. It's the first race. Woo!
Yeah. How close were y'all to a win before that?
Gosh, I look back. I don't have a lot of statistics from then. It's like, not like you would now, but I think we still ran good on average. I mean, we weren't winner, but I think we were top 10, top 5 guard. But it just all came together right then at that race.
So I guess what I'm wondering is, were y'all contenders for wins at that point, or did this Bristol victory surprise even you? And listen, to be clear, everybody's trying to win. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, were you realistic contenders for wins every week at that point?
I think we were. I really, I do, and I can't say that total confident and tell you a story of a close call right before that. I do know that every time we went out, we were qualifying well. I think in that same year, we sat on the pole at Riverside. Just like, oh, here's a road course. Let me try this. Boom, on the pole, right? One of those kind of deals.
So that's another curiosity that I've had, and it falls right into this timeline right around 79. You guys are having great success, good speed. The cars are pretty fast every single week. Is Dad a big part of that? He seemed to be the kind of guy to, from my perspective, I wasn't around, but I imagine when he was racing in dirt, particularly his own cars in the 70s, that he was in total control of what he took to the racetrack and how he set his car up. And as I'm sure he was the same way in the 80s and 90s when I did get paying more attention. He was very involved in how the car was set up, particularly front geometry and all this. In 79, 80, when you guys are working together on that big Monte Carlo, was it a bit of a team effort? And when it came to, say you're in the middle of a practice session at any given racetrack on any given weekend, is it a bit of a conversation, if you will, about what y'all are going to do to the car and how you're going to help it? And is Dad a big part of it?
Absolutely he was. He always was describing what the car did or what it's doing. I need it to do this. I need it to do that. But in 79, Jake Elder was there. And he was actually the crew chief in 79. So Jake brought a huge pass from him, with all his knowledge and teams that he's been with. So he had one of those Jake Elder setups that he went and put the spring between his legs, and he'd kind of stand up and he'd do that little squat deal there a little bit and go, this is the one for the left rear. right? and that's what he would put in, you know. So I mean, and Jake, he couldn't beat it, you know. We ran good.
So Jake is known, you know, as Suitcase Jake, and he moved from team to team quite often. He didn't stick around at Osterman for very long, which is no shock. Dad and Jake got together again in the Xfinity or the Busch Series in the mid-'80s, right? And I remember Jake working at Dad's shop over behind Mamaw's house, and they went to race at Charlotte. And they ran really well. I think they won the race. But during the entire race, Dad and Jake literally cursed at each other from the green flag to the checkered flag. Like completely, you know, just so disrespectful back and forth to each other about what they were going to do, what the plan was, what they were going to change, tires, no tires, gas. It was like they could not agree on anything. Was that the same way they were in 79 and 80 when they were working together?
Well, there was a little bit of that. You know, Jake was always known as the guy that kind of blew up and might be a drill come flying by, or you know, or cuss at you like you were saying, and so you never knew what was going to happen with Jake. But the one thing I do remember of one of the conversations on the radio with Jake and Dale was it was at Charlotte, and the whole time we're out there running, and the car kept pushing out of four. You know, kept pushing. I'm too tight. And Dale goes, Jake, you've got to do something about this tightness coming far. I said, Dale, let me tell you, I can do a lot of things, but I can't stop the wind from blowing. And we had a headwind coming at you out of four, and it would always just kind of, I mean, our cars weren't that aerodynamic, right? And it was like, oh God, what a mess. And that was the coolest saying though.
That is hilarious.
That is good, because I was curious, even before we got into the Jake Elder conversation, I was curious on what the pecking order of authority is. Like, you know, usually you got somebody that's in charge. And, you know, like we've had other drivers on our show, like Rusty, for instance. Rusty Wallace was going to be involved in the setups, you know, whether you liked it or not. But Rusty also admits he could never be a driver these days when you got engineers and everybody else, you know, chirping at you. So, like, who was running the team when it comes to your day-to-day stuff? I mean, was what he said he wanted, is that the end of the conversation, or was the crew chief? I mean, like, how did that work? And then we'll get into Jake Elder, and it seemed like there was just a butting of heads and maybe a contestment of authority, right?
Right. Well, so when Jake was there, he was always in charge of the car itself. But as far as the operations goes, as far as who was in charge, it was Roland Melodica. He was like your team manager in the say-so. He was the interaction with Rod Osterlund and making the decisions of what they're going to do, what they're adding on, how we're doing on salaries, all that stuff. That was all Roland. But when I worked in there, like if Jake was there, I worked under Jake. And we decided, we all talked to, you know, and decided what we wanted to go to Charlotte with, what we wanted to go to Michigan with. And obviously, once you run one intermediate track, you feed off of that track and you take it to the next one. And, you know, it's the same things we do nowadays. You know, like got similar racetracks, similar speeds. And then that's what we would go do is carry on from there. We didn't have a lot of, I'm not going to say we had a lot of geometry changes. We didn't build special spindles. It was an 8 and 11 spindle. Those what you ran everywhere. That was the norm. And Dale, you probably still have them on that car, a regular 8 and 11 degree spindle. I mean, it never changed.
That's a low strike.
So, what could you see things starting to unravel with Jake, and how and what was the reason for his departure from the team?
Well, you know Jake and the way he was, and I think once he got something on his mind, he didn't like something, maybe he didn't like Roland, or how Roland was doing something, and he felt like it was holding him back. He never did come to me and just say, "Hey Doug, you know, I'm just really fed up. I'm leaving." Jake's style was just like, "I'm out of here. I'm not doing this no more."
Like a light switch.
Yeah, and then it's like, okay, here we go.
Wow. So it was that quick. It wasn't like a build-up.
I don't feel like it was. I mean, we didn't have a big interruption in the year. You know, I had worked along hand in hand with him the whole time, and I guess
was Dad surprised? Like, did you call Dad and go, "Hey, Jake's gone. What are we going to put in the car this weekend?"
I don't know. I don't think I called him. I'm a bunch of either Roland or someone did though.
But y'all, did Dad call you and go, "Hey man, we got to figure out what we're going to run this weekend," or did he jump in and start like you and him start communicating right away?
I don't know for sure, but I am sure we did.
Yeah,
because that's how we acted from then on. It was, we hung around. We did then what most people do now. And driver and crew chief relationships are like a marriage.
Yeah.
You're not going to like what everybody does all the time, and you got to work together. There's give and take. Was I the best crew chief on the circuit? No way. But it was what we were working with at the time, so we discussed our decisions and made our choices, and that's how we approached it.
Hey, was Jake Elder actually married?
Yeah.
God, he seems like he would be an awful husband. Listen, in all seriousness, though, of all the people that we discuss on this show, Jake Elder absolutely fascinates me because I'm always trying to see if the myth matches up with the reality. And I don't know about you, Dale, but it seems like a lot of the people that knew Jake Elder that we've talked to, and Doug being one, I sort of detect like people are trying to be protective of the reality of, like, they'll say, yeah, Jake, he had his opinions. But it's like I've always wondered if they're like, he was a real jerk. What is the reality of Jake Elder? Like, was he impossible?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. All right, there you have it.
I mean,
so there
he wasn't impossible. I mean, he was a grown man with a lot of racing experience from a lot of different places. How can you not accept that, right? You might not like it, but you got to respect the person with all the knowledge. And you got to at least try it. Are they all going to work? No.
So you're 20 years old, and now you're a crew chief of a car that's in position or battling or running well enough to run for the championship. You're I don't know if you're in the points lead at this point, but you're right there in the conversation. 20 years old. Did you go home and think, oh boy, I'm in over my head, or were you over the moon excited? Did you feel any pressure whatsoever? What was the feelings?
Well, I mean, I can't say I was worried about it. Because I didn't change what I was doing. I was working on the car. I was working on the setup. I was installing motors. We were doing the preparation to leave and load. At one point, I was driving the truck and trailer. So it's,
you were a jack of all trades, jumping in there, getting anything that you appeared to me, and you can tell me whether this is wrong or right. I wasn't there, but from my studies and observations, you appeared to be this 21-year-old kid that was living his dream, that was open and happy to do whatever needed to be done. Like you say, drive the truck, install motors, be the crew chief, help with picking the setup and putting the car together and setting it up and choosing what you're going to run. You had Dad's confidence as a driver. But all at 20 years old, it's just really unusual. Completely unusual. It never happened today. But for those particular times, 1979, 1980, for whatever reason, I guess it wasn't too absurd. But help us understand that. Help us understand how it was so seamless.
And a lot of people's asked me that question, and I try to think back, like, gosh, what was I thinking?
He makes the play.
I just think I did what we did every day up to that point to get us to that point. And which discussions, trying to create the best car we could, build the best car we could. Wasn't all about aero then, but we tried to introduce a couple things here and there. But it was nothing extraordinary in my mind. I was just blessed to be in the right place at the right time, to be able to move up the ladder. I had the pleasure of working with him prior, so it wasn't a big surprise. We already knew one another, and all we did was like, okay, let's go make this thing the best we can.
You talked about being a crew chief and a driver being a marriage. You and Dad Had a great friendship. I remember y'all, going out on the lake together, just you and him, and skiing, tubing, just you and him, and during the middle of the week in between races. What was that friendship like? What was the camaraderie like between you and Dad? I mean, y'all. He was a little bit older than you at the time, but y'all had a good friendship outside of just a working relationship.
It was fun, and those kind of situations or marriages or whatever you could say, it's fun. I remember we would run a race, and even back then Dale would fly home and he'd ram a plane with Lauren Edwards as a pilot. Well, Lauren was just 3 houses down from the lake house.
Yeah.
So it was fun for him to go to the track, let alone go take us back. But what we would do is we'd run, get on the airplane, we'd haul butt back to Mooresville, get off the plane, and say, all right, we got time to go skiing. We'd jump in the boat and pull the tube or go skiing or whatever right off the dock there. And that's what we look forward to. If it wasn't skiing, we bought a pair of 175 Yamahas, and we'd go dirtback riding all during the winter and through the woods, driving over pipe in different trails and just do whatever I wanted to do. It was fun.
I ended up taking that motorcycle and using it myself.
No way.
I was about 15 or 16 years. It had spoke wheels.
White.
It was old. Yeah, it's like
White.
a 1980 Yamaha. Great bike.
So, Dale, were you living at the lake house at that time?
I lived at what I'm referring to is probably around 1980, 1981. I moved there in 81, 82. And then when I turned 16 around probably 1990, the bike was still around. And I got the bike out and was taking it riding until I ended up blowing all the spokes out of it.
But when you say you remember them going out on the lake and doing all these things.
Well, I just remember seeing it in videos.
Okay, that's what I was wondering, because I've seen those videos too. And
there's a video called One Tough Customer or something like that, made around 1981 by Wrangler Jeans. And I'm in there a little bit, but Doug's in there quite a bit as well. So, Doug, you're the crew chief. Y'all go win the championship. The reports and the stories that I've heard is that, in that moment, even Dad didn't really realize what he had done. And he didn't even really know how to react. Even days following that, he went to Vegas or somewhere and hung out with some people and friends, and then they ended up going home and thinking, we'd rather be home. He celebrated with his family, but it happened so fast, Rookie of the Year championship, that he didn't really realize what had happened, right? What he had done. And I remember when he'd come to me in Victory Lane when I won my first race at Texas, and maybe this is why he said that. The first thing he said to me was, make sure you enjoy this. And maybe he didn't really realize what he had done and did not celebrate it or enjoy it personally. Is that the same experience that you had? You're 20 years old, 21 years old, championship crew chief in NASCAR. You've only been in the series a couple years. I mean, no way you could have realized what you had accomplished.
Well, not really having a great, huge background in sport to even really know what that meant is something, right?
Yeah.
So I'd have to say I didn't really know how to act any different than getting ready for next year. We were fortunate to have Wrangler come on board for the 1981 season. And getting them going was cool, but it was just more like business as usual. We didn't go to a big party. The actual championship ceremony was in Daytona at a hotel down on the beach. I forget what it was now. And I can't remember if you've ever seen the pictures, but our whole team was dressed up in suits from Wrangler. We all had Wrangler sport coats and stuff on, and that's what we looked like as a team. We were all the same.
I remember the belt. He won a championship belt. It was this leather belt with this little white sort of leather strips down the side of it, or laced through the edges of it.
Yeah.
Because when he was going for the belt, that was the one I was hoping he wasn't going to grab.
Who did you guys beat for the championship? Like, who were you contending with? I just don't know because Dale probably knows this in the back of his head.
But if I'm not mistaken, it was between Cale Yarbrough and Benny Parsons at the time.
Okay. Yeah, it really come down to between Dad and Cale. Benny ended up winning that race at Ontario, the final race of the year. And Dad and Cale came in, and I think it was maybe 10. It was a very close points battle, 5-10 points, something like that. Dad had to finish in the top 8 or something. And come down to the final pit stop. Everybody's sitting there. Cale and Dad both are running in the top 5. The whole top 5 pack has been running pretty much together most of the afternoon. And Dad come down pit road, and on the last pit stop, we had a loose wheel and had to come back, or either missed or either lost a lug nut or something. But the official brought y'all back in, and so he finished a lap down because of that, but in 8th place, and just scored enough points. I think Cale finished top 5, 3rd or 4th or something like that. Cale didn't finish good enough to win the championship. So
that had to be terrifying, though. I mean,
it was. Because you know what I had was I had Rod Oshlin going like on my shoulder. Doug, what's wrong? What are you going to do? I don't know. I mean, boom, caution comes out. Saves us. Right?
Yeah.
It just
really?
saves us. Yeah.
That's what it was.
Me and Dave D'Ambrosio, we were the closest of the group, and we lived in the neighborhood there all the same. When we all started together, but Dave was the rear tire changer. And when the Jack man and him and I all went over there, and we had our issues, and it was one of those deals like you almost want to forget that part, that
right.
loose wheel, and I had to come in. Why?
and then you come on a podcast sometime later, just to remember it all again.
Then you go, oh yeah.
Well, the rest of even me. And the rest of the world, the historians of the sport don't look at it as negatively as you do. I know you probably feel the terror or the fear of that moment every time you think about it. All comes back to you. But when we remember that race and even remember those circumstances, that is a very small part of it because you end up, y'all end up coming out in the clear and winning the championship. Going into the off season or going into 1981, the sport had a big shift away from the big cars, the big Monte Carlos and Olds 442s into the smaller cars, and that you guys chose the Pontiac, all right?
Yeah.
Which was an interesting choice. The Buick Regal ended up being a very very competitive car. The Pontiacs did okay, but the Buick was the car that had the most success over the next couple of years. But anyhow, the performance wasn't quite there. But there had also been some changes in the team. Dale Inman had been brought in to crew chief the car now, and is that correct? I might have some of this upside down, but you're no longer the crew chief going into 1981. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's Dale. And I forget what made Dale Inman leave Petty.
Right. They had some kind of a bad year or something going on, and I think Richard might have been going to Curb or somewhere, but I don't remember. But something like that. But they split up, and Dale Inman's going to go, and I don't even know how he got over to y'all's deal. But are you disappointed? Like, are you win the championship as the crew chief, and now you kind of was it like hey guys, what the heck? Here, why am I not the crew chief anymore? How come I'm being put back in the position I was in when Jake was here? I don't deserve the opportunity to prove myself or prove that prove that I can do this job. Were you disappointed?
Well, I'm sure I was probably disappointed, but there again, with only 2 years of experience in the sport period, to be replaced by someone like Dale Inman, I really wasn't opposed to that either. Of course, I wasn't a big know-it-all, and I don't feel like I've had that I have to be the guy mentality even now. I'm surviving. I don't have to be crew chief, but they want to make me do it, or they want me to do it now. So it was just whatever it took to make it work. kind of how we
won a championship. Hold on, I'm not gonna let it off. I'm mad about it. You just won a championship. That excuse, that reason of, well, yeah, it's Dale Inman, let him come in here, would fly in any other situation if you had not just won a championship. But you had just won a championship. Did that card not get played at all?
Well, I guess I don't feel like I played it hard enough because obviously it didn't work. but I don't know. That's just the way I've been.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like that's your personality. It sounds like you are more just go with the flow. Is that right?
I am. I mean, I'm not. I try not to be controversial or just. I don't know. I just always. I can name you 10 other things that happened along the line of that same thing. As, hey, Doug, I know the last 24 hours you've been working and it's not quite good enough. So and so is going to be crew chief now. Okay. Here we go. Well, you know what happened? I ended up being the crew chief after they didn't like that guy.
Yeah. So the performance was not as good in 81. Wouldn't you say? Wouldn't you agree with that?
Oh, yeah.
What do you think that was the issues with? Was it the Pontiac? Was it trying to figure out that car, the new arrow with that car? Was it the communication with Dad and Dale Inman not quite as good as they'd hoped, or what was going on there?
Well, I mean, I'd say it was probably a little of all of it. Of course, it was a new car. Of course, we were in a position where our company, we were actually building our own chassis at the time. So we were a lot of in-house fabrication going on from the ground up, and I don't know if we've changed some things in the chassis part, but it wasn't clicking, and it I don't even know if maybe possibly it was maybe some finances come into play of the funding wasn't there to move forward more, because there was some things that led up about halfway in the season there.
Right. Yeah, so you just mentioned it. The team gets sold to J.D. Stacy, and it's my understanding, it's my opinion, I guess, that Dad was tipped off probably by Neil Bonnet, because Neil had worked with J.D. Stacy in 78, 79 or so, but he'd been around J.D. enough, and I think that Dad had been sort of tipped off that this might not be a situation he would enjoy. And Dad seemed to want out of it immediately, and within a couple of weeks, Dad was out of that ride and was over at RCR, or with Richard Childers. So, here you are, coming off, I mean, it has to feel like the championship's now almost like a lifetime ago. You're 6 months into the next season, and your driver's not happy. Dale Inman's not working out, or the team's not performing well. Not sure about the stability of the team. Where's your head at this point? And are you, is Dad communicating with you, trying to let you know what he's thinking about doing or what is going on behind the scenes? I mean, how are you keeping your ear close to the ground, or what's going on with you at this point?
Well, I would say at the time, mostly it was a thing where, we were still business as usual. I think Dale might have got tipped off, but it wasn't like, hey, Doug, you ain't gonna believe this, right? He didn't share that because that was going to be a disruption.
Right.
And I feel like it really only came out when all of a sudden they called a team meeting at the shop. Brings everybody together, and here comes in, J.D. Stacy, big old cigar. Yeah. And, he's your new car owner.
Is Dad there?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Now, I don't know how soon before that, but I know he was mad because he said, like, what are we? We just a herd of cattle or something, and they're just going to sell us off? Because that was really what got him. Whatever we had built up, just like, you're worth X amount of money, I sold you, and moving on.
And so what was your impression of J.D. Stacy out of the gate?
Phony. I mean,
oh really?
I just, the way you come in and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. He's smoking big old cigars, and then he ends up with 6, 7 race teams, and And what did it end up? Nothing.
All his checks bouncing.
Right.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that how that ended?
Well,
That's how that ended.
You know, we could probably dig into that and get some real facts, but
Yeah.
You know, as far as my understanding of it, he came in and he wanted to have a 6-pack. He wanted to have a race. You know, he wanted to have 6 cars out on the racetrack or even more with his name on them, and he did. He, you know, and it was funny, Mike, because it was different teams. There was no rhyme or reason to it. He would have his name on this guy's car and then this guy's car, and they would be completely unrelated to each other. But they all had this very similar paint scheme. They had a stripe across the hood and down the fenders, and it said Stacy on the quarter panels. Dave Marcus had that for a while. Jody Ridley was doing it with the 90 car, and I mean, there was a handful of guys, and it stuck around for at least a year and a half, 2 years, and then it just disappeared. And he had either ran out of money or the money he had wasn't real. But
and what's the true answer on that, Doug?
I don't have enough facts to say.
yeah.
All I know is what happened about halfway, all about the same time was boom, I was off to another adventure anyhow.
Right.
I got you.
So you went with Dad.
Yeah.
So what was that conversation like? Did Dad call you, or did y'all hang out on the pier and he go, "Hey man, I want you to come with me to RCR. They got room for you"?
Yeah. Basically, you know, when he said he was leaving, he said, "Come on, let's get out of here. I'm leaving." Like, all right, hey, I'll go with you. So it was myself, Steve Blackwell, Rick Peters. I think just 4 of us, I believe it was.
That's interesting.
And we all just decided to leave and go up there.
So you go work at Richard Childress, which is really you're not really going to what I would consider a more stable situation. You know, Richard's way underfunded, and he's moving out of the driver's seat. So he's got this system, right? He's driving the car, been driving it for years, and he knows what he can spend, what he can do. But now he's getting ready to transition out of the seat into the ownership. He's going to put another guy. He's got to pay a driver. He's hiring more guys. Dad's obviously going to be able to bring Wrangler with him. But this has got to be uncertain times, kind of nerve-wracking times for you personally, with everything that you've been through. You win a championship. You kind of get put underneath Dale Inman. That doesn't go well. The team gets sold. You're leaving. You're going over to RCR. I mean, you're still, 22 years old, 23 years old at this time. It's probably not too wild to you as a 23-year-old, but if you were a 35 or a 40-year-old,
right,
you'd be probably thinking, good Lord, I need some stability in my life.
Right.
How was the experience? I got a few pictures of you and Dad together that year, backside of 1981, around the RCR stuff. You know, what's the communication like between you and Dad at that particular point? Obviously, I'm sure the friendship is still there, but where are you guys at? What are y'all thinking about your future? Are y'all plotting and planning to figure out how to get this thing going again?
Well, I don't feel like we were even plotting or planning. We just left. Like, all right, I'm going with you. We go up there. Kurt Shummerdine was still there. He knew the cars. He worked with Richard. I remember getting there, and it was no different than some teams nowadays. When you just run your stuff without freshening and all that. I remember the threads being gone on the end of the stud, for so much, because they were just used so much, right? Well, now we went in and, Wrangler coming, Dale coming, we put an effort to it to do the best we can. And that was, Kurt Shummerdine's involvement and myself. And, Rick.
How did you and Kurt get along?
It was fine. I didn't have a problem. I was just enjoying the ride, right?
Right.
Wanted me to come along, and boom. As far as I knew right then, it was only a 6-month deal, right? It was halfway in the year. I knew we were going there to the end of the year.
Okay. So you don't know exactly what 1983 or 82 has for you.
82 was still uncertain.
Still uncertain.
Yeah, which basically what had happened we got down to the end of the year. I don't think he had the funding. He didn't work it all out with Dale. Nothing was worked out, and that's when Dale decided to go to Bud Moore's.
Well, didn't he tell him that he needed to go to Bud Moore's?
I think
that's the story.
He might have. Like I said, I wasn't in on those discussions.
Yeah.
Of course, all the financial part between Richard and Dale and all that, but I just know there was no more future there for me. And then Dale leaving, and that's actually when I went to Junior Johnson's to work for almost 4 years.
So how did you make that decision to go to Junior Johnson's? Your 6-month experiment with RCR's up and over. You've got no idea, where you're going to be for the next year. How do you start that conversation to get over there working on Junior Johnson's car?
Well, I'm obviously just being around him at the racetrack. This is where a lot of the deals were always done, just being around people at the track. But as it got down to the end of the year and when he started thinking about going there, I started searching around. Well, at the time, it just so happened to come up that when I went to Juniors was when myself, Jeff Hammond, and Mike Hill were co-crew chiefs. We all just went in and did everything. Jeff's a jack man. Mike Hill's a tire changer. I'm a tire changer. We all worked on the car. We all built them. We all went to the track, and it was just a combined effort. We all went there to win.
So I don't know that I've ever heard of a co-crew chief operation in NASCAR, and I don't know if we've seen one since. But it seemed like you guys got along really well with that situation. I know that you're not that kind of guy, but when you have a race team, there's going to be guys there that want to be the guy. When you win the race, they want to be the guy that's responsible for orchestrating the people in the crew and the team in the car. But y'all didn't have that. There was a co-crew chief. Everybody seemed to have an equal share in the responsibilities and the repercussions and success. How did that work so smoothly? Was it because of the respect everybody had for Junior, or the confidence you had in the program and the team to win?
I think it was all the above. Junior had a great program. He had great involvement there and I think we had the Buick Regals. Actually when we got there and when we became the Duke crew and all that part. And tell you, our team was hot. The one year we won 11 races, and the next year I think we won 12. Man, we went out. Darryl was on his game. I'm going to change the sway bar a little bit away, and that's what I need. He knew what he needed. He had a great feel. He had a good sense of car handling, and he was just on it. The whole thing was on it. We had a good pit crew. It was a package. Right?
Yeah.
Was there any talk of you going to Bud Moore's before that, though? Because you and Dale had established a bit of a friendship here, and so was there any place for you at Bud's, or was that just never in the equation?
It never was part of the conversation.
Okay. So you pretty much knew you needed to go find another. The split, if you even want to call it that.
Yeah.
It's not like you and Dale Earnhardt split, but you guys knew that the future did not have room for both of you.
Right. It wasn't an opportunity for me to go there with him.
And so now you're working with DW as a driver. Now I'm still fascinated by the fact that your meteoric rise in this thing. You'll move from California. You're living in a campground to start off in your Carowinds, and you're working with Dale Earnhardt, who at the time was not what we known as the Intimidator. But then now you're working with Darrell Waltrip. My gosh. As luck would have it, you're hitting some pretty good jackpots there, right?
Yeah, I've been really fortunate. I can't say enough about all the opportunities that I've had in this sport, and whether I earned them, I created them, whether you always wonder man, how did that happen? I don't know. It just happened, and away we went. I worked with Darryl 2 different times. I worked with him at Junior Johnson's. Then when Budweiser came along, I went and worked with Neil Bonnet with a 2-car team at Junior Johnson's, Darryl and Neil. And then when that ended, I went off, and the next thing I know, I'm helping Buddy Baker at Baker Ship Racing. So, voila.
I think it's your personality, honestly. I think, a lot of people that ask how do you get into the sport, you got to be willing to do anything And the ones that aren't willing to do anything, they come in with preconceived notions of this is what I'm going to do when I get into the sport. Well, those are the ones that really don't make it because it's not how it works. Our industry will, chew you up and spit you out if you're going to be that mentality. If you literally were just like not trying to plan your future, which, I think we go by a term young and dumb. If you were that guy and didn't know any better, that's how opportunities create themselves. And those are also the kind of people that you want to work with. And so I think your personality probably had a lot to do with it, whether you give yourself credit or not.
Well, I've always tried to have what I consider a good personality. I like to have fun. I'm not a big butthead. I'm not a big a-hole.
This guy represents the time.
I try to treat people the way I want to be, treated. I don't want to be treated and talked to like a dog, like some of the drivers through my career I've been. I'm not going to say I haven't been. And, but that sticks with me. That wasn't a highlight of my career, but I feel like I hope you can talk to someone on the street nowadays, and I hope they tell you the same thing. That would be my goal.
So you were, what year did you and your wife Robin get married?
1985.
So, all right, so you didn't end up going with Dad to Baltimore. All right, and people are going to assume, well, maybe the friendship had ran its course.
There's a push button.
But you get married in 1985, and who's your best man? Now, I want to know tell us who your best man was, and how in the world you convinced him to do that.
Well, me and Robin started dating in 83, a little bit more in 84, right? Or a lot in 84. But me and Dale always stayed in touch. We weren't like we were just distant. And through the years, we always talked, and I said, Dale, I think about getting married. Would you be my best man? And he said, why, yeah. And that's how it came about.
Just like that.
Just like everybody.
He used to tell me that he would never go to two things, and that was weddings and funerals. And he was not only at the wedding, but he was the best man. I mean, he's got responsibilities. What kind of a best man is Dale Earnhardt?
Well, yeah.
Very iconic.
What does that mean?
He's, as we know, the best man today, he's responsible for certain things. He's got to get the gifts and the ring. I think I remember him being pretty, considering the ring thing very important. But he's also, if he's a good best man, responsible for throwing a bachelor party and making sure everything goes well. All right. Was Dad plugged in like that? What kind of grade would you give him when it comes to being a best man?
I would give him. I would give him an A.
Oh, come on!
But
come on now. Why? We need to hear why he gets an A.
I don't know. I guess I've always thought a lot of it about him doing that. But I mean, as far as grading him being a planner and no, probably not much on the planning side. But
is there no big hard time today?
No big bachelor party or anything like that?
There was no bachelor party at all.
I didn't have time to party. I was racing.
That's an excuse. Come on.
That's not true.
It's supposed to be. Dad's supposed to go and make this, do this and surprise you. I knew it. I knew that he didn't.
When is your wedding anniversary? We'll tell you if there was time for a party or not. Well, when is it?
December 21st.
No, there was time for a party. There was time for a party.
Yeah, actually, being that time of the year, right? 21st of December. So here we are. I'm getting ready to go, and we're at the church. Me and Dale, Teresa, Robin's sister, Mom, all that are there. And at 2 o'clock, when the wedding's supposed to start, the only two people sitting in the church was Junior and Flossie Johnson, which they loaned me their car so I could drive away with the car at the time. And everything at that time of the season was just late, right? Well, here we are waiting. I'm like, man, is anybody really going to show up, right? And then eventually everybody showed up because of traffic, everybody getting down Independence. And, at the time we struggled trying to find a preacher to marry us because we were in racing. That was a big, oh, God, these guys are no good.
Oh, wow.
Wait. Preachers wouldn't do your weddings because of your reputation?
Well, it was just I think they had a vision of what racing was that was entirely not the case. I mean, so I think we proved him wrong.
That's crazy.
To this day, we have not done this. He said, well, the biggest thing I want you to do is I want you to come back in 20 years or whatever and talk to me and say you're still married. And we haven't been able to find him. And it's going on 35.
Wow.
We have a few more real good stories to get to, but first.
All right, Mike, here's a catch-22. How do you build credit when you don't have payment history to build on, Mike?
Very hard to do that. Very hard. Almost impossible.
I know there's an easy way.
Tell us about it.
Use self. All right. You see, the industry has made it hard, like you said, for people to understand how to take control of their credit. Here's a great tip. Some don't realize. If you want to build credit, your payment history really goes a long way. Many people just rely on secured credit cards to build credit, but those can require hefty upfront deposits.
Yes.
Self gets you on the path to positive credit history in 3 simple steps. You apply for a credit builder account, a CBA, online or through the Self app. Then you choose the amount and terms that fit your budget. Each on-time payment builds your credit history. Once your account is paid off, you have savings set aside, minus interest and fees, and a positive credit history to build upon. So let me give you an example. If you want to buy a home, purchase a car, get approved for a loan, there's a lot of things in life that rely on having good credit. I was lucky enough to have Kelly, my sister, help me out at a younger age to get my credit going. At the time, something like Self, it wasn't around. I had no credit. At the bank with Kelly Earnhardt, I had great credit.
That's the only one that mattered at the time.
That's who I had to pay off. That's who I financed. Credit can be scary and confusing. Self gives you a clear path to a better financial future. Building credit with Self can give you a new lease on life, while effectively building your own savings. Start building your credit history today with Self. Get started in just 5 minutes at self.inc/Dale Jr. That's self.inc/Dale Jr. Self.inc/Dale Jr. So, y'all, you mentioned a couple of the others ended up at Bakers and in and around and in all kinds of different teams. You're kind of suitcase Jake-ish without the cantankerous attitude.
Whoa. Now, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Not like Suitcase Jake. I was then Duffel Bag Doug.
Duffel Bag Doug.
Yeah.
Is that your name?
That's it. People nickname him that.
Well, when you start bouncing, there's a place in my life here where I did some bouncing around,
It was out of necessity.
I just got to do what you got to do, right?
Yeah.
There's only 2 people I've ever been known nicknamed after travel accessories now, and you and Jake are it.
Well, at least I wasn't Samsonite. No Samson here.
So Duffel Bag Doug is on the run then. Is that what we're hearing?
Yeah.
You ended up at Roush in 2005, which eventually ended up in a real successful year with Greg Biffle, 2000. In 2003, you go to Roush. In 2005, you have a great year with Greg Biffle, which was something that was so good to see. Here's a guy who, we've told the story right here in this podcast, and now you're back with a competitive driver, competitive team, winning races, running well. Are you, in that moment at least, sort of relishing in the opportunity to be a crew chief again, to be successful at it in a whole nother sort of decade, in a whole nother time of technology and you've got a lot of resources. You're able to manage the people that you need and move the pieces around to make this work. Do you remember that time as being enjoyable, or were you up to here trying to be competitive, trying to work hard? Because I know at the same time, it's awesome to have success and be running good, but you can also run yourself into the ground because it's such a tough job to begin with. But what was that experience like to get back to good?
It was good, all right, because the whole Roush journey actually started with Carl Edwards. When I was hired by Roush to run the truck team over there at Lakeside Park, Kyle Busch was to be the driver. And I went to one test with Kyle Busch, and that's when Bumpy decided he's going to go straight to Cup with Hendrick. Well, here comes Carl Edwards, the guy that offered you his business card and said, I'd sure like to drive your car.
Yeah.
All right, and here comes Carl Edwards, and we started having success right off with the trucks, and what a great guy he was. And that was the start of it right there. We ended up winning like 3 or 4 races that year, in starting with Carl Edwards. And then all of a sudden, I got a phone call from Jack. Jack says, well, why don't you come up to Michigan with me here and just kind of hang out with the 16 and listen to the radio, see what they're talking about, see how they're doing things or whatever. And I said, okay, sure, right? And I just went there and I just saw some things that I didn't feel like was cohesiveness or whatever, or really trying to work out the problem or discuss what the issues were or anything like that. And went back home and all that, and we talked about it. And the next thing I know, he said, Doug, I want you to go over and start working with Greg. And I went, okay. And it's like, man, to this day, until not long ago, I told Jack, we've had some interaction with Jack again, with Max Tolman as a driver over there. We did some Xfinity races and all with him. I said, Jack, I got to tell you, I regret the day I left Roush Racing, because my career's been downhill since, and I was like, I look back and it's like, man, how do I get that back? How do I get there again? I feel like I can do it, but someone's got to give you that opportunity again, just like I had it in the beginning. Yeah. But there's not a mold that proves you for this position. I feel like I'm more than ready for that position again, but I just can't convince somebody that I'm the guy.
Right.
So you want a job, right? I mean, you still want to do it now?
Of course. I don't want to go out on the bottom. I want to win again. I'd love to win another championship of a modern era championship. Very hard. And I'm a realistic. It's very, very hard because you have to have all the ingredients. And Dale, you've got an Xfinity team over there, and all the ingredients that you put into that. In another year, you don't come away with a championship. There's always something else that you got to do. It's hard.
Yeah. So what did you leave Roush for? What made you want to do that?
Well, I had this idea that I could jump the fence and that grass all of a sudden went from burnt to like nice green grass on the other side, like we all seem to, the old expression, right? Grass is always greener on the other side. But Toyota was coming in, and I'm like, hey, I've heard a lot about it. Oh, they're coming in. It's going to be strong and all this stuff. And I got there just a little early.
What year was this?
That was actually 2007.
Yeah.
And so you had been with Biffle for how many years?
Right at 4 with Greg.
Okay, with a lot of success.
Yeah.
So not only was there, what you could have perceived as grass on the greener on the other side with Toyota coming in, but like, had you and Greg just run your course? Was there other reasons why you would have considered taking another job?
Well, let me step back a minute before I talk about grass. There's some things that made me look for the greener grass. Okay, let's say that.
Right.
So going into the end of 2006, I was told I wasn't going to be the crew chief, and that they were going to make changes, and it just wasn't working. And a lot of it was we almost won the championship there in 2005. So they automatically pegged us for, all right, you're going to be the champion 2006. Well, we go out. We still win, I think, 3 races that year. we were leading a bunch of them. Our strong points was intermediate tracks, the Texas and California. Well, I think California, we blow a tire and it blows half the side of the car off. Leading, we just did. It wasn't clicking, and it wasn't happening. And it just got down to the end of the year where things started festering up. We missed the chase, and man, when that happened, there was like a little X on your back. All right, you're done. So I knew going into it. But the sweet thing was, when I went out, I was standing in victory lane at Homestead for the third year in a row, jobless.
Wow.
But let me take that back. I wasn't jobless because they didn't say I had to leave. I just wasn't going to be crew chief for Greg.
Right.
I will leave that. I'd state that right. I could have stayed.
You could have been a crew chief for somebody else.
I think there was some talk about maybe going over to the Xfinity garage or the
right.
And
but Roush had an awesome Xfinity program.
Right. And but here it was. I think I just came off of winning 12 races with Biffle and all this, and then, well, here's this other opportunity that was not really known, wasn't proven yet. I took it. Me and Brian Vickers was working together on that, and we just couldn't get going. The things were behind at Toyota. It's a lot of the horsepower stuff. They had great horsepower, but like at 7,000, they were like 60 horsepower off. So when you put new tires on a car and you really had to get after it to get quality, we kept missing races. That was that year where there was like 19 or 18 or 19 go homer cars, and it was tough, and we kept missing races. But we make the race at Charlotte, and we're leading it when the power steering, when the wheel come off once and the power steering went out another time, but I got the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
Who was your driver?
Brian Vickers.
Toyota? Vickers, yeah, I got you. Yeah, that was when Toyota came. I remember that. I mean, that was a big development. But boy, yeah, I guess there would have been some big learning curves too, as well. You just don't come in. There was a lot of expectations with Toyota as well, right?
Oh yeah. Well, it was just it was like a bottomless pit. You could say the Red Bull, theme of things and how they did it. They were over the top. They did it. There was no shortage of nothing. Other than just that combination of getting in them races, and when we did, I think we were in good. It was just those races we missed was a coffin for us.
Were you ever happy with Toyota? And in fact, I'll ask it this way: what was the last year you were happy?